You're listening to Drinks and a Movie with your host, Rudy. Spoiler alert.
Dope. Drinks and a Movie podcast, man. Yeah, here. Cheers.
Thank you, Rudy.
Yeah. I've got a super
Salute.
special episode here. We're sitting with Craig Hammill, the founder programmer of Secret Movie Club. Craig, thank you for joining me.
Wow. I just had a sip of that whiskey.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I didn't even take the sip yet. Sorry.
I had a sore throat. All my openings are cleared. Let's talk.
I'm sorry I didn't. I feel like now, if I knew it was going to be so hot, I would have chosen a beer or something like that, or a margarita maybe, but it's all good. Hopefully it's fine.
I like whiskey.
So we're going to talk in this episode about all things Secret Movie Club. We're going to talk about, how you came to be the big cinephile you are, how you started and conceived this idea, what's happening currently and where you're going to go with it. Yeah, I mean, to start, let's talk a little bit about what we're drinking. I don't think you've had this one, right? Before?
No, never.
So this is Jefferson's, and maybe the camera can see, or not, I don't know. But this is Jefferson's Ocean Aged Rye. And this actually just dropped last month. Like, it came out a few weeks ago. And retails for $80. I just got it, so we just broke the seal on this for the first time.
Man, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm worth $80. What does that mean, aged at sea?
So that's what's interesting about this whiskey they do, because they have different bourbons and ryes, and they do a bourbon that we drank it I did an episode on the Poseidon Adventure. So we're like, all right, ocean aged bourbon. We got to do that for it. I wasn't too thrilled by it, but basically, they distill their whiskey and it ages for, I don't remember how long right now, but they throw it on a barrel in a boat. So the idea is that you kind of hyper age it. I don't remember how long they throw it on the boat, but they throw it on there and then it takes a voyage. I think on the website you can read like exactly where it goes. The idea being that since it's in the water and it's constantly moving, it's like taking on more surface area of the barrel rather than just kind of sitting there. And then it's exposed to like different climates and temperatures and that kind of like sea salt air and all that. So it's supposed to impart a little more flavor and characteristic. And I mean, it's marketing for sure, but it is an interesting idea.
Effective.
Yeah, like it makes sense, right?
Makes it romantic.
If it's moving around, like it's got to take something from it. But I'll read a little more about it right here for a second on the Distiller app before we jump in further. Where'd I have it? All right, so yeah, this is Voyage 26 of Jefferson's Ocean Aged. It's C Portfolio. It's the first rye whiskey for the brand. It's created by taking fully mature rye whiskey and rebarreling the lot. 75% was placed into char number 3 barrels, and the other 25% was placed into new toasted barrels. And the toasted barreling typically imparts like a lot of people reference like marshmallow, like a melted kind of toasty marshmallow flavor. Kind of makes it sweeter. And after 6 months at sea, it's bottled without chill filtration, 96 proof, and available as of April 2022. God, I'm so sweaty. But yeah, let's go in for another sip,
right.
Matt. And you can have as much of this as you want to, so you let me know.
Be careful. L'chaim.
Yeah. Cheers. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. The bourbon that I tried, I think didn't do much for me. It didn't have much complexity. It was interesting because you could taste kind of like the saltiness, like as if you were at the beach or something. But I'm not getting that much of this one. But yeah, no, it's good. Maybe I'll share more details as it opens up. But
no, do it, man. I remember you and I were talking a little bit before we started recording. I weirdly like vodka. I like rum. I like tequila. I like whiskey. I don't drink it a lot, but when I do, I can have any of them. But I was telling you, I just cannot buy gin.
yeah.
And I know that's a thing, and I think it has something to do with some of my tribalisms too, being Irish. But the funny thing is, one of my favorite memories, which I hope we capture in microcosm here, was the beta version or the proto version of Secret Movie Club was just this thing I did just out of college where I invite friends to see movies at our apartments. And we were all poor and in our 20s. no kids, no marriages. So we could like put on a movie at midnight, get up at 10 a.m. or whatever. And the only rules of that secret movie club were that the movie had to be something that was rare, that people hadn't seen. It should be a discovery. So as much as I love Jaws, it couldn't be Jaws. Right. Everybody's seen Jaws, or Jurassic Park or whatever. And then the second thing was you vouched for its awesomeness. So if everybody went to your apartment and your movie sucked, then nobody would come again. It was just sort of like, it was very much law of the free market. But we did, if I'm remembering this right, I hope I am, we did Roadhouse. I did Roadhouse because I love Patrick Swayze's Roadhouse. Yeah. It's such a crazy movie. And that was one of our best secret movie clubs. We had 40 people in our apartment. Or no, it was a little house we had, blah, blah, blah. Everybody left. And my buddy Steve and I, he's one of my close friends, we always loved talking movies. And we had a bottle of rum. And I remember we just passed this bottle and spoke for 6 hours on movies till the sun came up. And then we just walked. It was in Echo Park. We walked to Millie's Cafe and just got pancakes. Oh,
yeah, dude. Hell yeah. That sounds like the best night ever right there.
That was great. I know. And that tells you you're with a film nerd.
Yeah.
It's like best night I ever had.
Yeah.
Drinking a bottle of rum and talking for 6 hours about movies.
Yeah, that's it. That's the fun of doing this podcast with people is I love it. Just talking movies and having a few drinks along the way.
That's great.
I'm not a big vodka drinker at all, but my friend and I did an episode on Thomas Vinterberg's Another Round. Oh, yeah. I don't know if you saw that one from a couple years ago. Loved it. And we decided, like, you know what? Let's do a tasting of 6 different vodkas because I'm curious. Are they actually good? Am I just biased, And we did Smirnoff, Tito's, Kettle One, Grey Goose, Belvedere. They were all pretty good. There was another one like 1946 or something from Minnesota that was the cheapest one. That was one of the better ones. I felt Tito's was the weakest, surprisingly, because everybody loves that. And it's like, I think it's corn based. And I know they make it in Austin.
Kettle One or Grey Goose guy.
Yeah, and Kettle One and Grey Goose were good. I feel like they're interchangeable, which was something I was interested to see, like having them side by side. Belvedere definitely did stick out as like, all right, this is...
Oh, did it?
It's good, yeah. It's not just a fancier bottle and price. Like it actually did taste the best of all.
Maybe I'll have to switch my martinis to, because I'm a vodka martini guy. Okay. I'll have to switch them to Belvedere because I always just go to Kettle One, Grey Goose.
I mean, they're all good. They're all fun, but no, I think that's a good transition though. Like, your story about like the original kind of version of Secret Movie Club. And by the way, I mean, I fell in love with this whole thing over the pandemic. Like the first time I found you guys was, I think it somehow came to me on Instagram. I saw a post and you did the Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, like a couple of my all-time favorite movies at the Sears parking lot.
That's a drive-in.
Yeah, the drive-in one. And I just dropped everything. And I'm like, I have to go see this. That's a couple of my favorite movies. And then from there, like that was it. I started coming a lot. Took my girlfriend here to see Boogie Nights on her birthday. Oh, Took my brother to the Raid double feature. Like went to see Evil Dead 2.
We had to run Raid 2 on one projector because of the focus issue.
Yeah.
I was the projectionist. And after Reel 2, I was like, there's no way I'm showing every other reel slightly out of focus. Yeah. We had to get that lens reseated. So you guys were so cool because you had to wait about, I think, 2 minutes in between reels. Well, I quickly, we just ran the whole movie on projector 1.
Yeah, no, that was appreciated because I remember thinking like, oh man, is this whole thing going to be like, it's subtitled too. So it's like, I got to read this.
You guys paid good money. No, F that. And Raid 2 is so bomb that like, there is no way that you're going to those great action sequences are all going to be slightly soft. And you guys are DPs. It's like sound.
Yeah.
You can't mess with that.
Yeah.
I don't want to speak. You saw it, so you'll have to tell me. But my decision in the booth was, I think they're going to be more comfortable waiting 2 minutes and seeing a perfectly focused movie than me not saying anything and them every 20 minutes being like, what's up with the booth?
Yeah, no, that was excellent. That was the first time I saw those movies too. So it was well worth the wait. Amazing. And one thing I love too is how you always come out and give a little bit of trivia about it. I was blown away because you mentioned how the second movie was actually what that director wanted to do. And the first movie was just like, all right, well, here's a warm up. Here's an idea of like what it's going to be. And I remember when it ended, I looked at my brother and I was like, what the fuck is this second movie going to be? Like, if that was the first one, 'Cause, yeah, I immediately, like, that night I ordered the Blu-rays. Like, that was it.
Oh, no, Ray, those two raids.
They're amazing.
So it's funny. We're here in the Secret Movie Club Theater, and we're in the actual theater itself with the seats and the screen. There's a room in the back that we use for special events. My office is back there, and there's a cardboard cutout of my dad at 26. He passed away when I was 23, and I love him. He was a wonderful father. I had a stepfather who was incredible too, Henry. I just want to say I had two great fathers. But with my dad, this story is going somewhere. My folks divorced when I was 6. And the funny thing is, now that I'm a dad of 3, Craigie, Carmen, and Pammy, and I love you guys, I look back, and this is a whole struggle. Maybe this will make sense. But when my folks divorced, my dad was like, F it, I'm going to watch whatever I want with you guys. Like, I'm going to show you whatever. So Heather and I, my sister and I, he would get action movies when we were set. So I was watching Commando and Predator, and I was like anything with Schwarzenegger, Conan, Die Hard 2 when I was 6, 7, 8. And it was great. I loved them. But I have a real deep primal love of action movies, I think, because of my father and bonding with my dad. And it's funny, they're just amazing. Like a great action movie, there's nothing, and they're so hard to make. Yeah. I think the funny thing is that when you go to film school, and again, I love movies of all kinds, but I think with any field, people can get elitist about things, or they can say, this genre is art and this genre is not. Right. And I think that when you guys are makers, and when you're a filmmaker, I think it's actually easier to make a passable drama than it is to make a passable action movie. Because when you watch The Raid or The Raid 2, where that camera was, the choreography, that that took hard work. Yeah. So anyway, I love action movies.
Yeah. I love talking movies with you already. It's going to be hard to get away from that. But let's talk about you. Like I listen to your guys' podcast because you also have the Secret Movie Club podcast. I listen to it regularly. Oh, thank you. Once I came here, I came across that, and you
listen to us all yell at Edwin.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny enough. Like I see him at Amoeba and stuff. I've never met him. I don't know him, but I see him around town. And
you should. When you see him, tell him, he'll love it.
It's great. Like I was telling you earlier, it's the funny thing about podcasts too. It's like, I feel like I already know you just because I hear you guys talking all the time. I'm driving and I'm hanging out with these guys.
I've been in your car.
Yeah. And I feel like I've learned a little bit about your background, but if you're down to share more, so you're a film school grad, correct? Like, did you set out to write, direct, or shoot? Did you know, like, as a kid, you said you got to watch a lot of action movies with your dad, and that was like a big experience, like family-wise and everything. Did you know when you were very young that filmmaking was what you wanted to do?
There's actually a story to it, and I want to be concise. I'm not good at being concise. And I apologize. I hope you guys, I'm glad you're shooting with 3 cameras. Judicious editing. But so the interesting thing is both sides of my family were pretty movie intoxicated. My mom, though, it was great. I actually feel like I got the best of both worlds. My mom had a real hard rule that we couldn't watch anything that was over the rating wise. So when we were 10, we could not watch PG-13 for the most part. Yeah. My dad didn't care. I was watching Blade Runner at 7. Yeah. But what that meant was that with my mom, we were watching a lot of the old movies because they didn't have ratings. So my mom was much more comfortable getting us the classics, musicals, classic Hollywood. And so with my mom, I was filling in the history. With my dad, I was sort of filling in the dope new movies, R-rated movies, and weirdly saw a lot. But I originally wanted to be a writer. I remember that. I loved writing. And so I think the first profession I really my mom always had me tell everybody I wanted to be a cardiologist. She's like, tell people you want to be a doctor. So I would tell people that. But then when I was 9, I was like, I don't want to be a cardiologist. And I wish I had that patience, that talent. But at about 8, I was writing plays for people in my class. I would do these like adaptations of Aesop's fables and stuff. And the teacher would just excuse me to go write. And so I was a writer first. And then But I was consuming a mad amount of movies. So I was always in love with storytelling, with narrative. That's for sure. I really, there was never anything else but narrative for me and stories. And that I can say with confidence. And then, when I was 12 or 13, I don't tell this story a lot, but, we went to go see this Disney movie called The Rocketeer, which it was not the greatest movie. But I remember sitting and the credits are playing, and the opening scene is some kind of biplane chase with gangsters, and the credits are going. And I don't feel like I'm embellishing. This very loud, profound voice in me said, "You're going to make movies." And it was actually a wonderful feeling. It was like vocation. And it never changed after that. So when I was 13, I heard this voice, literally a voice inside me, and that was it. And it was movies. So, by the time I was 14, I was already thinking film school and writing scripts and talking movies and blah, blah, blah. And I went to USC Film School, undergrad and grad production. I still am a movie maker, and I love making movies. And in fact, one of the things we do at Secret Movie Club is we have this open mic short night where people come and they bring their shorts. And I wanted to do that because it's just a good idea. And Secret Movie Club is about a community of movie makers and movie lovers. I've always wanted Secret Movie Club to be more than give us your money, watch a movie, get out. And I'm not saying that that's what movie going is, but I think I'm one of seven. I have 6 other siblings. I come from a really big family. And I think that I've always loved getting a bunch of people together and having a communal experience. And but where this is going is that I did the open mic short night to force myself to make shorts, which I've been doing now for about 2 years. So weirdly, I've always felt to be a great movie maker, Stephen King says to be a great writer, you got to read great books. And he's right. And to be a great movie maker, you have to watch movies. Yeah. And I think that's absolutely true. So, I'm a movie lover and I'm determined to make feature films. I'm 44 years old. I'm not going to hide that. I think you just got to own your age. So I'm still determined to make a feature film. And so weirdly, doing Secret Movie Club has actually also helped me keep my feet in the pond, in the lake, with making movies. So making shorts, making docs. I shoot some of our content. So anyway, there you go. That was not a concise answer.
You need a little top up. I'm going to get some more.
Rudy, you're going to regret it, man. Then I'm going to start going back like 10,000 years. Like, look, we've got to go back to the beginning of civilization for this answer. You're like, no, you don't.
Sorry, I should have gotten up and...
Now let's get that sound on the mic.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you know what's up, man. I appreciate that.
No problem.
No, this is opening up nicely. Like it's super easy. 96 proof, super easy. Good amount of spice. Pretty sweet. I get a little bit of a chocolatey vibe from it. Sorry, I'm just trying to make sure I incorporate that too.
No, good.
Yeah, how are you liking it so far?
I mean, I do really like it. The only thing I'll say is I have to be very judicious because I do work after this.
Yeah, for sure.
But let me tell you what I did. So what I'm doing is whenever I do hard liquor like this, neat, as you said, I sip it very judiciously just to make sure, because I love whiskey. And you got to be careful.
Yeah.
I'll tell you another quick story, and I apologize, but I took that same buddy that I drank rum with, he and I and his brother. So I like to rib him because I'm a spiritual guy and he's not. And I love that. I love that about the world. Steve. So he always makes fun of me because I was raised Irish Catholic and Russian Jew, and I've got all those superstitions, and I go to church and he'll catch me saying the Our Father and, all that stuff. And, so I like to rib him because he's made it very clear that that's not for him. So one night I was like, Steve, it's your birthday. I want to take you somewhere special. And while I was driving him and his brother, I was like, we're going to church. I just want you to have an open mind. Okay. I just don't think and he was like, Craig. And where I was really taking was a Burt Reynolds double feature because he loves Burt Reynolds at his church. So then he saw the marquee and he was like, you motherfucker. And I was like, what do you think I was really going to do that? I know you don't like that. We're going to see a Burt double, baby. So we go to see a Burt Reynolds double feature, and I ran to the Rite Aid and I got us a fifth of whiskey. This is where the story is going. Because we always used to love to illicitly bring something into the theater, pass it around. Yep. I thought these two guys were helping me drink this whiskey bottle. And, when you're watching a movie, you're just passing the bottle.
Yeah.
I get to the end of Smokey and the Bandit, and that fifth had been drained by 2/3. And I had drinking half of those, like half the bottle. They had just had a few sips.
Yeah.
So I stood up, and you know that feeling. And I was like, oh, no. And I was still like aware enough. And then Stroker Ace was the second on that double bill. So I went to the restroom. I came back. It was just water. I was still drunk.
Yeah.
We had to go to La Cita downtown. And I was just drinking water at La Cita for another hour. And then we got a burrito because I was the driver. I had driven them.
Yeah.
So that I was like, what you guys
They did you dirty, man.
They did. But here I am. So it all turned out.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, let me have a little sip.
Yeah.
So I'm not good at that. What you were saying, whenever anyone talks about a wine or a whiskey and they're like, I'm getting notes of almond underscored by a toasted chocolate.
Yeah.
I'm not good at that. But what I will say is that it's nice. It's smooth without being too smooth.
Yeah.
It's got a sharpness. See, that's the way I can describe it to you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
It weirdly, I did have I've had a little bit of just because I talk all the time, my throat is a little scratchy. This actually has made it feel better, and it goes down nice. So I really actually like it. But I will also say that's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because then you start drinking it like a beer.
Yeah.
That's no
it becomes
bueno.
a little too crushable, as they say. Like,
Exactly.
just crush this. Yeah, no, I mean, I'm slowly getting better at the notes and all that. Like, some days I can do it, some days I can't. Like, so it's just super simple. But I know that I like it right now. It's good. And I'm not disappointed in like, oh shit, I spent $80. Like, it's good. It's worth it. So anyone wants to check it out, check it out.
I think you got a few more podcasts in that bottle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. You said a little bit about kind of the first rendition of Secret Movie Club, and I'm just curious. So, you did film school, you came out, like, as far as what we're experiencing now here and having this place and having the $1 million theater and like specifically showing 35 millimeter prints and even the 70 millimeter prints you guys did, I think that was last weekend.
Yeah,
your Palm Springs, which, man, I was planning to go, but I kind of got fucked over by my job, so I didn't make it. But I'd love to hear how that experience was.
Hopefully
too.
we'll do it again.
Yeah.
And remind me, because I do want to talk about 70. I had a bit of a religious experience last weekend.
Yeah.
And that's not just hype because we did it as our company, but we'll get to it.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to cut off your
Yeah,
question.
no, you're good. Yeah, so
Just tell you that story.
yeah, like how did what was the day or the moment where you're like, all right, I have this idea. How did that come about?
Basically, I get out of film school, and like a lot of people, I'm going to be a writer-director. I'm going to abridge that whole thing. But cut to, I'm struggling to do that for about 12 years, from 25 to 37. And I thought features came together. They fell apart. I made a lot of mistakes, a lot of failures. A story for another time. But I'm with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, Martha, and we've been together for 7 years in total, almost 10 now. And I love you, Martha. She's the mother of my children, incredible. And none of this would have happened without her support. So that's very important to get in there. So I talked to my friends who made features. Here's the story. And I'm still, like I told you, Rudy, I still want to make feature films. So I'm always asking my friends who've gone on to make features, what's your advice? What's your advice? And all my friends are telling me, look, Craig, we thought making a movie, just getting it made, that was the game. They're like, it's not. That's maybe 49% of the game. 51% of the game is marketing, distribution, exhibition, at least getting near to breaking even and having an audience come, or no one's really going to give you another movie. And I wish I had known that, because they had run, let's say they had run a 10K, not realizing they were running a marathon. So they run the 10K, and then suddenly they're done with the movie, and people are like, oh, now you got to go promote it and market it for 2 years. And you got to go to festivals, and you got to get a buyer, and you got to go to theaters, you got to get butts in the seats. And they were like, I thought I was done with this movie. And everyone was like, no.
Yeah.
Now you got to go get it sold and get it seen.
Yeah.
So that's what they were all communicating to me. Was I think that when you're a movie maker, you think that's it, and no one tells you about the sales aspect of it or the exhibition aspect of it. So I heard that, and I said, what can I do what can I do to get good at that? To not let that fall through the cracks if I ever get to make a feature film. And when I was at USC, I had started this club with a friend, Alex Garcia, that we called screenings, where we would show movies on 35 and we would invite the filmmakers. And so, like I said, I'm 44. So I was an undergrad in 95. That was my first year. And 95 to 99. And I weirdly got to have people like Russ Meyer before he passed away. We did Faster Pussycat Kill Kill. I had Robert Wise come in to talk about West Side Story. I had Michael Mann come in to talk about Heat. John Woo come in to talk about The Killer. Yeah, no, it was like we were super lucky. Alan Davio, the DP of E.T., and he came in to talk about Bugsy. So this little voice, now this is funny. I was talking about that voice that said, you're going to be a filmmaker. There's a different voice, and I've heard Spielberg talk about it. He's right. They are different voices. There was a quiet voice this time, and it said, well, why don't you do that again? Why don't you just show movies? And I actually ignored that voice for a few months because I was tutoring to pay the bills. I had a marriage coming up. I was like, I don't know. Do I have time for a side project? But this little voice would not go away, but it was a very quiet voice. And because Spielberg had talked about listening to the quiet voice, the second month I was like, well, this quiet voice is telling me to do this. And then, I'm a big reader too. And I really believe in reading, because if you read, you really are reading the collected wisdom of humanity. And a lot of people say you regret the things you don't do. You don't regret the things you do and fail at because you didn't. You tried. I mean, maybe it sucks that you failed, but you don't sit, in your 50s and you're like, I should have asked that woman out, or I should have tried to make that movie, or I should have taken that trip. A lot of us regret those things, but we don't regret, I did ask that woman out. It didn't work out, but it was a good relationship, Right. Or, I tried to make that movie. It wasn't a hit, but I'm glad I did it. It's a different feeling. Yeah. So what I did is I said, okay, I wrote all these theaters, and they all were going to charge me an arm and a leg, $5,000, $10,000 a night. And I was going to pay it out of my pocket with a marriage coming up. And I was like, I can't do that. And then Lance Allspaw at the Vista Theater wrote me back, and he said, and, talk about the universe helping you out. He said, hey, Craig, we'll let you show your movies. We'll give you a good rate. It was a great rate compared to what everyone else was giving. But you have to do it at midnight. And I thought, well, I love the Vista. For people who don't know, the Vista is one of the great theaters of Los Angeles, single screen, built in 1922. And I thought, well, I love the Vista. Yeah, I'll do it at midnight. And my first movie was April of 2016, and it was Raiders of the Lost Ark, one of my favorite films of all time. I got it on 35 because I do still feel, even in 2022, and this is the 70 millimeter we can talk about in a little bit, I love digital. I shoot all my documentaries on digital. I have a feeling that if I get to make feature films, eventually that's all I'll get to do them on. I thought Sicario, which was shot digitally, was one of the greatest movies of the last 7 years. And when I saw Sicario, I was like, well, that movie was great. So there's no argument now. You can make masterpieces digitally. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I want to be very clear about that. And I'm not a fetishist, and I always think you got to be dynamic. Yeah. That being said, I do still personally prefer film as a medium. I just do. And so I showed them on film, and I'll get to the end of this story. So I'm doing it once a month. And then I show Scarface, Brian De Palma's Scarface. And I didn't have time to really promote it. And I was averaging about 80 people a screening. And I had 30 people there. And I lost like $800. And Lance Allspaw said, Craig, it happens to all of us. Don't worry about it. Why don't you talk to this guy called Bernie Bergman? He's doing some stuff too. And Bernie, I talked to Bernie, and Bernie said, Craig, have you ever heard of Facebook marketing? And I was like, oh, because I had just been putting up flyers and emailing my friends. Yeah. And Bernie was like, Craig, look into social media advertising. So I spent $100 or $200 on Facebook ads. And the next movie was October, Stanley Kubrick's Clockwork Orange. And within a week, I sell it out. And I do a second screening, sell that out. And really from that point on, I never looked back. And then my son was coming. It's funny how family informs you. My son was coming, and I thought, well, if I'm going to keep doing this, I got to make it work. Yeah. Because or I'm just going to be tutoring and doing this and trying to raise a child. So then we went to one a week. And weirdly, it's such a long story, but I'll end by saying this. We're in a building where the landlord It's funny how people really help me. And I really want to be clear about that. I'm only here because people help me. And I was lucky. And so the landlord, Simon Shen, he looked at me, and he's from Hong Kong, very successful businessman. And Simon was like, Craig, your idea is good. And I think what you're doing is promise, but you really suck at business. And he was right. I was like, you're right, Simon. So he gave me all this great advice. He started mentoring me, and I went to 3-month seasons. Suddenly I was showing 2 or 3 movies a week. And basically what happened was the hits would balance out the failures. And suddenly I had enough of an even cash flow. This has never been a huge cash cow, but I had enough, it evened out that I could keep going.
Yeah.
And end of this story is I realized, though, because I was renting theaters all around town and we always wanted to be mobile, but I had this realization, when you rent, you're at the mercy of landlords, whether they intend that or not. And I thought, I've got to get a long-term lease on something so that if something disappears, I've got a headquarters. So people know Secret Movie Club is always there because there's a place that it always is. We, as you said, we still show at $1 Million. Yeah. When the Vista opens up, God willing, we'll be back at the Vista. We were just in Palm Springs at the Camelot Theater. Being mobile is a huge part of what we do. And I want to show at other places, but we need a home. Yeah. And so my landlord, Simon, showed me this space. I was very scared, but I was like, this feels right. I took it over. We opened up February of 2020. And 6 weeks later, COVID hit. And we had to shut down. And I was still responsible for the rent. And what we did was a few months later, we went into drive-ins. You were talking about that. And you just, that's life. You either you roll on your back or you're like, I got to figure this out. Yeah. And so we did drive-ins. It was like a wartime economy. We were selling out all the time. But I took all that money and supported my family and poured it into keeping this place. And then May of 2021, they opened back theaters up. I, by the grace of God, held on to this space. And here we are, May of 2022, and we've been open for a year, and we're still showing at the $1 Million. And we've wound down the drive-ins because now that the theaters are open, indoor was always where we started. Yeah. I love drive-ins, and I'm open to them. And my partner, Ralph, I have to thank him too in the drive-ins. Ralph Matamoros, if it hadn't been for him, he had all the equipment. So, but anyway, that's how we got to today.
Yeah, no, man, I didn't even realize that and I should have asked that earlier, like the year that it started. That's crazy to hear that February 2020 you got this spot. Like, yeah, that's incredible. And then thank goodness, like you and your team and everyone like kind of stuck with it and made it happen. And the drive-in thing was like a brilliant kind of solution to that period that we were going through. How did you assemble your team? Because there's quite a few people that are doing this with you. And
no, that's a really important question, Rudy. So I have a lot of weaknesses, and I'm embarrassed and ashamed that at 44, I still am bedeviled by a lot of them. And I hope I have the discipline somehow to at least push the boulder up the hill a little bit from my weaknesses. What I'm getting at is one of my weaknesses is I always want to do everything myself. I'm a victim of that. Like, I'm going to write, I'm going to direct, I'm going to shoot, I'm going to edit, I'm going to be Kubrick or whatever. And the fact is that, I heard James L. Brooks studying when we did our Terms of Endearment broadcast news night. He said it's a team sport. And it's funny. It's a cliche, but I was like, it is a team sport. Right. He's absolutely right. Movie making is a team sport. And anybody who's good at movie making knows it's a team sport. And so as Secret Movie Club grew, and this is the problem I'm still dealing with to this very moment I'm talking to you on this podcast, I have wanted to have my finger in too many pies. But if something's going to grow, you do get to a point where you have to say, I'm the one who's the problem here because I'm trying to do it all. I have to have a team of people who are way better at what I'm not good at, trust them, and we'll get further down the road faster because I have a team. So I was very lucky that people would come up to me. Our team now is about 10 to 12. And I was very lucky that people would just email and they would just say, hey, I like what you do. I'd like to be a part of it. And I've said this already on the pod, but I really believe the universe talks to you. And I'm not trying to, my worldview, I'm not trying to make it your worldview, but when I hear things, I often go, I think that's the universe telling me. So all these people would come and say, hey, I want to be a part of this. And I was like, okay, let's see how it works out. So Daniel Ott, who now does a lot of our organizational, he's on the podcast. He was one of the first to come to me. Connor Cruz, who edits all of our podcasts, does a lot of our trailers and video content. He used to just be the first in line at the Vista. Edwin Gomez, who does a lot of our trailers and is on the podcast. He was selling popcorn at the Vista, and he would just talk to me at the table in his uniform. Heather Monahan, who does our posters, does our design. She's my sister, the one who watched action movies with my dad. And she's a ridiculously talented artist. She did, your audience can't see this, but she did Night of the Hunter, 2001, A Woman is a Woman. And
so all the posters in here
are unique to Secret Movie Club.
Oh, man. Okay. Because, like, I love walking through here and checking them all out. And I was like, where do they get these specialty posters? So she's the one who made all these.
Not all of them. We have she did the Rear Window. I mean, she would go crazy but Heather does a lot of them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And she does a lot of our best. We have about now 5 designers who do different ones, and we'll just farm out depending on their skill and their talent and their voice. But yeah, that was the other thing was I always liked the idea that Secret Movie Club would sort of be this weird galaxy of creativity. And so rather than just putting up posters, why not hire working graphic designers to do their spin on it? You I'm glad you said you dig it, because the idea is maybe you feel the creativity there.
Yeah.
And so the Heather does a lot of our, she does all of our, she created our website. She does all of our graphic design needs. We have Josh Oakley just became our managing director, because I can't answer all the emails. I can't do the social media posting because if and there are all these people writing with exciting opportunities. And if I don't get back to them in 3 weeks, that's rude, So, and then we have Stephen Brownlee does our posters and our merch sales. And so I'm learning, I always say this, but I'm building the plane as we're flying it. And I'm always making mistakes and dragging my feet, and I'm really frustrated by that, and I'm trying to change it. But what I'm trying to do is get to the point where I can delegate, trust people, have departments, because we have even bigger things we want to do.
Yeah.
And so that's how that's going.
So
Alex Olivier, I'm sorry, I got to say, Alex Olivier is our projectionist. So I was a mediocre projectionist at best. You saw the Raid and Raid 2. And you've got to also go, like, I love projecting, but at a certain point, I was like, I got to get out of the booth. And I need someone who isn't coming off of a 10-hour workday, going into the booth and then projecting for 6 more hours because you're tired. I need someone fresh who loves projecting, who's going into the booth fresh, who's going to have that so that the experience is marquee. So you have to do that. Yeah. Because you have to think in the end, it's anyway, blah, blah, blah. But that's the team. That's how the team formed.
How did you get that skill of projecting? Did you work in a theater before where you learned how to do it? Or because I'm guessing that probably wasn't a film school thing.
It was.
Really?
Yeah, that's a weird thing.
Because I'm sure, like, I imagine it like at that time for sure you're shooting on film for projects and all that.
I was a TA for a cinematography class and a cinematographer. So my job when I was a grad student was running the 16 millimeter dailies for the short films. So I was in the booth threading up a very easy 16 millimeter projector, and I was just running 3-minute rolls of dailies or splicing them. And then I love to edit. I love to edit. And so my graduate thesis short, I DP'd, it was shot on 35. I DP'd 25% of it, and I edited it on a flatbed. So I had done the thing of splicing and moving film from cores to reels. And now all that being said, I did it because we needed to pinch pennies because of COVID. And I love doing it. I love being in the booth, but you have to be brutal with yourself in any creative field. And I was tired. I would, I just go, too many things were going wrong with me in the booth. It was mediocre. And you just go, well, people could come here and have mediocre projection, or I could get someone like Alex, who is great, and they can get great projection. And that's when you got to put your ego to the side.
Right.
And you just got to say, well, it's, I love projecting. I can always step in. I just did a few days ago. You get better, and I love doing it, but it's a good skill to have. But it's good to have someone who that's their thing.
Yeah, for sure. Dang. So I guess on that topic of like the film and projection, like we mentioned before, you guys just came off, as we're recording this is mid-May, about a week or so ago, you guys did a Palm Springs Getaway, 70 millimeter movies, 2001: A Space Odyssey, West Side Story, Lawrence of Arabia. How did that all go, and what was your experience? I know you said it was like kind of profound for you. And just, by the way, so the audio is like really, really rough, so apologies to the listeners and everything, and apologies to you, but we're going to keep trucking at this, and I'm going to do my best to edit it as I can. But
okay.
let's keep going
sorry,
for it.
Man.
No, I feel bad because, as you've learned that audio is
it's the worst, dude.
way more important than the video.
visual.
Like we can be shooting standard definition, like mini DV, and no one would care, but I just hope
Adam was
people
right to have the
that.
phone recording.
Yeah.
So you got those backed up.
Yeah.
Good call, Adam.
Yeah. Thank you. Shout out to Adam Adorno setting up the cameras.
I just wish Adam would wear pants.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your show.
Yeah.
So. He's wearing pants. That's the great thing about radio, though. I can say anything.
Yeah.
So it was a blast. It was exhausting because I brought out my whole family, and we had our 3 kids, and my wife is watching the kids. We had a babysitter, Jeanette, who also, we all were talking this week about how we just needed the week to recoup. But what was interesting was, so we did 70 millimeter, and even though you do want to save money, you get to a point in this experience where you realize, I would rather lose money and have it be an excellent experience than make money and have it be an experience where people say the sound was off, the reel changes were off. So we had 2 experienced 70 millimeter projectionists. One of them was a 70 millimeter engineer in the booth the whole time. That gave me great peace of mind. And so the answer is that 2001 in Lawrence came off with almost no problems. West Side Story, unfortunately, the intermission was cut into the wrong place. And, you learn. Every time you show a movie, you learn. Yeah. And I was like, okay, next time I'm going to just put it on the bench and find where the intermission was. But that was not right for the people who gave us that print, to give us that print with the intermission in the wrong place. Yeah. But anyway, blah, blah, blah. But you have no one to blame but yourself, because that may be that was their responsibility. But ultimately the buck stops with you, and you're the one with the print, and we should have seen where the intermission was. But I mean, West Side played great. It looked beautiful, but I wish the intermission had been in the right place. And then there was a problem with the DTS reader on that one. So the sound, I'm talking about sound. Yeah. We had, from the middle of the movie to the end, every now and then 2 or 3 seconds would drop out, and that was a bummer. But it played okay. We didn't have walkouts. It was fine, but it wasn't great. 2001 in Lawrence, though, were like, and the chef's kiss. And what I was going to say to you, Rudy, was that watching 2001 in Lawrence on 70, and I want to say this the right way, we have to be careful about this. I think that it's only natural as human beings that we choose convenience over quality. And I get it. It's the more convenient something is, the more willing you're to do it, But when you see a movie projected on 70 and you hear the 70 millimeter sound, especially what I mean is Lawrence in 2001 and West Side were all shot on 70. The audience may or may not know this, but a lot of movies were blown up to 70 to just say, hey, it was 70 millimeter, but they were shot on 35, which is a format I love. I mean, 35 is what almost all great movies were shot on. Godfather was shot on 35. Goodfellas was shot on 35. Et cetera, et cetera. But I watched these movies on 70, and they were different. They felt different. It was like going to opera. And the cinematic experience, I was crying. I was weeping. And I said, wait a second. This is what movies can be. This is why people went goo-goo and gaga for cinema. Because they went and saw 2001 on 70 millimeter as a 17-year-old.
Yeah.
And they were like, what the fuck? Excuse my, like, you know, like, and, or they went and saw little Steven Spielberg in Phoenix, Arizona goes to see Lawrence of Arabia on 70 and whatever the Phoenix Movie Palace is. And he's like, that's storytelling. So I would just warn our generation and the younger generation. Now, let me wrap it up this way. I love TikTok. I love YouTube. I love seeing cat videos and stuff. And I think that's an art form. And I love how digital allows you to like shoot something, edit something right away, put titles on it. I think it's great. I think it is for the betterment of everything that people everywhere can make movies now and post them and get feedback right away. I think that is a undeniable, in my opinion, good. But I do think all of us need to still see these movies on their original formats so that, you know, I never thought I wanted to shoot a movie on 70. And then I saw those movies and I've had this idea, which I don't want to talk about right now, but I've had this idea since I was 19. And after the weekend, just last weekend, I was like, maybe that's the idea that I do on 70. Now, the problem is, where are you going to show it? You know,
Right.
How many theaters still have good 70 projectors, union-trained projectionists who care about the sound, who aren't going to platter the print? And again, for the technical stuff we're talking about, audience, there's just a whole way to do it that's actually very precise. And so you have to be realistic about, you know, most people, you're going to have to transfer that anyway to a 4K or an 8K, and it's going to be projected digitally. But now I'm in my head, I'm like, well, could you, just hear me out here, could you, as part of your budget, go to the biggest theaters around the world? It could be at most 20 to 30 markets, I think, and say, look, we're gonna pay for the projectionists and the projectors. We're gonna pay for the projectors and the projectionists. And it's like making a fire, right? We'll get 1 or 2 theaters in LA, 1 or 2 theaters in New York, 1 or 2 theaters in London, a theater in Paris, a theater in Hong Kong, in Shanghai, in Tokyo, in Toronto, you know what I mean? Like in Mexico City. It will go 1 in, Africa, 1 in Sydney, 1 in et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Well, then you go there and then the rest of them see it on 35 or digital. But I just think if you bake that into the budget, that and then you have to make a great movie. But I don't know, it's just special. And maybe what I'm saying in the end, for blame Rudy. He gave me this whiskey aged at sea. But maybe what I'm saying is that, and you know this, you guys are cinematographers. And I just heard this. I was interviewing a director this morning that we're going to post up, and he said it too. Making movies is hard work. You know, if you're getting into movies because you want to, I'm just literally, it was Slava Zuckerman who made this great cult movie from the 80s called Liquid Sky. And I was interviewing him. And he's 81 now. And he's still got that impish glee. I was so inspired by this guy. He was talking to me about Liquid Sky 2. And I was like, yeah, you make Liquid Sky 2 in your 80s. That's dope. I hope I'm like you, 81. But what he was saying was, if you're getting into it because you just want to already get to the part where people are writing books about you and you're walking the red carpet and you're eating the free hors d'oeuvres and you're holding up the Academy Award, don't get into movies.
Yeah.
That's not what it is.
Yeah.
You know, if that happens, that's fine. What movies are is like getting up at 4 a.m. to, the David Lean, right? Imagine that. Getting up at 3 a.m, schlepping 70 millimeter equipment to some remote desert in Jordan to get a sunrise where your whole team is and you're like, everyone's like, I wish I was back at the hotel and getting on a camel who's got to hit its marks while your focus puller is like at 1.8. And then you get that shot. And then you don't even know. Then London's cabling you. Yeah, I think the dailies look okay. Yeah. And you don't even see the dailies for 3 weeks. But that's movie making. Yeah. But if you can do that, if that excites you, if that whole, struggling to make greatness excites you, that's why you should go into movie making. And I think watching 70 millimeter reminds you of that.
Yeah, man. Well said. Always well said. Always coming through with the perfect words.
That's kind of rude. Thank the whiskey.
Yeah. Well, we'll start to kind of wrap it up from here. I mean, because that's a good place to start to leave this. I mean, where does Secret Movie Club go from here? Because you mentioned that there's other projects. Oh, yeah, perfect. Well, Robert Mitchum in the background with his little,
exactly.
And all that.
No, we cater to everybody.
Yeah. But yeah, so what's up and coming? Like, what are
yes,
big projects?
there is an answer to that. So what's next? So to that point, that's another thing I've been thinking about too, because I know I keep saying this, but I'm 44 and although I still feel good and, 44 it's not like you can't walk, I'm still playing with my kids and running, jumping off of walls, which I probably shouldn't do, and climbing up trees and stuff. But my eyes, I got to get a new prescription. I realize that. That's a bummer. But at 44, you realize, I've realized two things really clearly. One is life moves like that. And I'm 44. I mean, I'll be lucky if this is midlife, because that means I lived to 88. Right. So you start to go, who knows how much time I have? That's number one. So do it. You got to just every day do stuff because you don't know. And that's not, I'm not scared of that. This is a much longer conversation. I've tried to live my whole life not being scared of death. You read a lot of filmmakers, and I think it's totally understandable, the human fear of death. And I may, when the moment comes, I'm terrified of suddenly losing my cool and being scared of dying. But you can't stop it. I've always respected cultures that embrace death, like Dia de los Muertos. Yeah. I've always loved that. I think American culture, it's to our detriment that we don't deal with death. And I've always loved Latin culture because they do. In fact, most other cultures do, just not American culture. But you've just got to live and get things done and find a way to do and to produce, because you never know when you're going to go out. You never know when your number gets called. That's number one. Number two is that the world is always dynamic. And the other problem is, as you age, you get comfortable. And so there's this period, which is why I think a lot of great work is done by young people, is there's this moment in your 20s and 30s where you get pop culture, you get society, it comes very easy to you, and you produce all this great work. But then what happens is another generation comes up, and suddenly they're doing TikTok, and they're using, phrases like fire and AF and sus and stuff like that. Yeah. And you're like, that's not my slang. Like, they're talking about dropping F's for a fallen homie and stuff. You're like, what is this? And then, computers are coming out and apps are coming out. You got to relearn everything. And you start to get reactionary. And you're like, it was better in my day. And I hate that. What you need to do is go, another generation is here. I got to relearn the slang. I got to reappreciate pop culture. I got to learn these new apps. I got to get on TikTok. And, I got to learn what it's about, because I think the beautiful thing you learn is it's not like every generation is some kind of totally alien culture. They're just expressing what we've expressed for 10,000 years in their way. So when you go on TikTok, the great thing I've learned is I get it. That's funny. That's hilarious. That's beautiful. That's weird. But you just relearn it. So that's a very unnecessary preamble to say that we're always trying to be dynamic. I think my great fear is getting comfortable. And I think my great fear at Secret Movie Club is falling into a rut of what we program. I just never want to do that. So I'm trying to watch new movies. I'll always do new things. If it's not my bag, I show it. I never want what we program to only be what I like, because I think that's a danger. So if someone's like, try this, I'm like, well, that's not for me, but let's try it, because it'll be for you. And I believe, I'm an American, and I believe in democracy, and I want it to be democratic and Catholic, lowercase c, and all that stuff. So, Rudy, the projects for 2022, they're like this summer, we're going to go back to the $1 Million Theater, and we're going to do some speaker series. So in July 9th, we're going to do Raiders of the Lost Ark. And then you guys know about those guys who reshot Raiders shot for shot.
I know of it. I haven't seen it yet, though. Like, I've heard a lot about that.
You can see it July 9th.
Perfect.
At the $1 Million Theater, because those guys are going to come talk. And we're going to show Raiders, and then we're going to show their shot-for-shot teenage adaptation at the $1 Million Theater, and then they're going to show it. So that, to me, is an exciting thing to do. And, and again, someone came to me with that. A peer of mine by the name of Sebastian Tuardaz, and he came and he was like, would you be interested in this? And I was like, hell yeah, I would. Then in August 13th, we're going to do a double feature of Guillermo del Toro's Hellboy and the original Bride of Frankenstein on 35 millimeter with comic book artist Mike Mignola, who did Hellboy. He's actually going to speak. He's doing a poster for us. We're going to show a doc. We're going to talk about comic book culture and how, that's translated into, great cinema. And he'll be there. We have editor Mary Sweeney, who edited Twin Peaks and Lost Highway and David Lynch's movies. She is going to speak about Lost Highway in September. So we've got that. We just a week ago, started a partnership with the Guadalajara Film Festival. We did Y Tu Mama Tambien, and co-screenwriter Carlos Cuarón came to talk about it. And the Guadalajara Film Festival, Vanessa and Gabriel and Ava and Jimena, they got Carlos Cuarón. I want to be very clear. I did not get him. But that kind of partnership where my wife is Salvadorian, Martha, and I love speaking two languages. Yo hablo con un acento muy gabacho, so discúlpame. ¿Tú hablas español?
No.
Oh!
No, I know. Yeah.
¿Qué pasó, güey? Tú tienes el nombre Rudy Ruiz.
I know. Man, you just put me on blast big time. It's all good. It's all good.
Though. You're the editor.
Yeah, I'll keep it. We'll keep it real.
Okay.
No, I don't. But man, yeah, that was really cool.
Well, yeah. Wow. But you're able to hear my thick gabacho accent. But one of the things that I really love, I've always loved the idea of, so here's what I'm trying to say is what's so great about cinema is if you can't travel, it's the closest you can come to traveling. If you watch Japanese cinema, you're seeing Japan and what's important to them. Yeah. If you watch Mexican cinema, you're seeing Mexico and what's important to Mexico. Yeah. You watch India cinema, Bollywood cinema, you're seeing what was important to Hindu culture in India, et cetera, et cetera. So it's always been really important to me at Secret Movie Club that we show everything from all eras, all around the world. So partnering with Guadalajara is great because now we can start doing these Spanish language movies, bring in Spanish language speakers. We live in LA. Yeah. One of the biggest Spanish language markets in the world. And, I was just reading the other day that 1.8 billion people in the world speak Spanish. So I don't know if I'm exactly getting that number right, but if you put the English speakers with the Spanish speakers, you're getting 3 to 4 billion people in the world. Yeah. So so we're doing that. And then also, final thing is we've really ramped up challenges for our open mic short nights. So now this month, if people want to come Wednesday, May 25th, at the beginning of the month, we showed Lars von Trier's 5 Obstructions, which is a movie where he gave a mentor of his challenges to remake his short film. Everybody who attended pulled out obstructions, and I did too, and I'm going to make one as well. And mine was that my movie can have no dialogue in it. It can only have music and sound. And human utterance, if I want but it can't have any dialogue. So I'm working on that right now. We have 12 other filmmakers who are working on theirs. And then we're all going to bring in movies that were just made this month. And we're going to show them this theater on Wednesday, May 25th. So Secret Movie Club is going towards creating, getting people, let's make movies. Yeah. Let's screen them here. Let's show 70. Let's show digital. Let's show Mexican cinema. Let's show Spanish language cinema. Let's take chances on all this weird stuff. And weird, I define as good, interesting, unique. And you know what? It's the whiskey too, Rudy. But I'm going to debut it here. This will probably have some tweaks, but I've been working on a message for the rest of 2022 that I want to unify everything we do. And the closest I've come to it, this is a rough draft that you're hearing on Rudy's podcast. But it's like, I want everybody to be part of cinema's comeback story. That's what I want for 2022 is let's get people back to movie theaters. Let's get people back realizing why they love movies, why movies are great. I'm so sick of hearing the death of cinema. I'm done with it. Yeah. It's not dead. It never will be dead. And I'll give you proof right now. If people are like, prove it, homie. Okay, here you go. The people 3,000 years ago were sitting in an amphitheater to hear Aristophanes' comedy, whatever it was, I'm a big fan. One of my favorite things is, not Euripides. I love Euripides. We're talking about the Greek playwrights here, but I've got to look him up. See, this is what happens. No, he wrote the Oresteia, which is one of my favorite. It's a Greek trilogy. Aeschylus. I don't have to look it up. Woo, came to me. I saw a photo of my daughter. She was like, it's Aeschylus, Dad. She spoke to me. But Aeschylus is Oresteia. 3,000 years ago, and longer, longer, because there's some Babylonian tale of Gilgamesh that's, 8,000 years old. Anyway, people have been gathering to be entertained by something on a stage for 8,000 years.
Right.
COVID ain't knocking that out.
Yeah.
So, that's short-sighted of all the people who are saying that. Now, are movies going to be different? Yes. Do we have to rediscover what they are? Yes. But I want Secret Movie Club and all of us to be part of that story. So that's what we're going to focus on for the rest of 2022.
Dang. Perfect, man. Perfect. Well, Craig, we'll end it right there. I think we covered a lot. I can sit here and just talk movies and stuff with you for the rest of the day, but I know you got a lot of work to do. I just wanted to say thanks so much for coming out here, or thanks for letting me.
Thank you for letting me stay in my office. Actually,
Thank you for inviting
Thank you
us
guys
here
for coming here.
And I mean, where can everybody find you? You guys got an Instagram, you got the podcast, you got the website. Anything else you want to?
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. So the easiest thing is go to secretmovieclub.com. Because if you go to secretmovieclub.com, all of our social media, everything is there. So you can just follow what you want. The cheat code for LA events, if you're based in the Southern California area, is go to Google and type in Eventbrite Secret Movie Club, and you'll go to our Eventbrite page. Follow that, because anytime that we announce an event, you'll get a notification and you can buy tickets. And our social media handle on Facebook is at Secret Movie Club 35mm. And then for everything else, it's just at Secret Movie Club. So you do that, you're going to find everything.
Well, perfect, man. Again, thank you. It's been a blast talking with you and actually meeting you for the first time. And we'll wrap it up right here.
I love your Clerk shirt.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
We were just talking about Clerks on the pod.
Oh, yeah, I heard. Yeah.
All right, one more
man.
cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Sláinte.
Yeah.
God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Drinks in a Movie podcast. You can now find us on Instagram at Drinks in a Movie Pod, where we'll be posting photos from all the various films that we discuss. You can also email us at drinksinamoviepod@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe, and thank you for listening.